What's up, y'all? So I decided to make this video to show you guys how to illustrate a children's book and actually illustrate it well using entirely AI. Is it possible? Stick around to find out. So this is my children's book, The Grammar Jungle, written by me, illustrated with AI. These first scenes weren't too difficult, just had to create a jungle background, and the hardest part was just getting a consistent background where I could put text over it. Then we have our first character, the Ignorant Moose. He was a little more challenging to create. And then these scenes is where it became difficult because I had four other characters come in. So I used the same background and just changed the positions of the characters, but I had to do that character by character. So it was not easy. Then we have this centipede. He was also pretty challenging. The peacock was the most challenging character for the AI to create and replicate. And then as we go on, these weren't too difficult. This scene was pretty hard just because there were so many characters, and AI struggles to create a lot of different characters in the same scene. These weren't too bad, except that I had to change each character's face, and that became challenging because they're starting to get upset in the story. Then our final character, Luke the Lion, enters. These were pretty easy, just had to use the same background and then change the face and position of the characters. And then as we go on from there, ostrich in the plane wasn't too bad, actually. Um, this picture with the snake and the chameleons was pretty difficult, and also getting the peacock flying. But that is my children's book. Now, I know what you're thinking. Easy, right? Went to ChatGPT, said, hey, create illustrations for my 1,000-word story. If you think that, well, think again. How did I do it? Well, I started here with Recraft. Now, I chose Recraft because it put out pretty good images, and it had a free version where you could create about 25 images a day. That was a mistake, but I'll explain that later. Now, the comma llama took about 20 tries or so. The panda period, he took about 30 or tries before I got the character I wanted. Now, the peacock, gosh, I got some weird looking peacocks. And then finally chose this one here. This is where I realized this AI was not capable of replicating the characters, at least not under the free version. So I had to choose another AI. This led me to OpenArt AI because, as I mentioned, Recraft, under the free version at least, couldn't replicate an image. What I mean by that is, let's say I create a moose and, oh, now I want that moose in a forest. Well, it doesn't remember your character, so it creates a whole new moose. Now, OpenArt AI advertised that you could create a character for 1,000 credits. So I bought 12,000 credits for a whopping $30. That was my budget, by the way, $30 for this entire project. But I bought 12,000 credits with the hopes that I would be able to create my characters. Now, it did create the moose and the llama, but once I started to try to create the peacock, well, I got some weird looking images. So what I ended up doing was actually taking the images I had created, the characters from Recraft, and putting them as what's called an omni reference. Now, once I did that, it would create very similar characters, very similar images, and I could put in the prompt subtle changes. For example, oh, make it stand up, or make it smile, or make its eyes look a different way. Now, to be fair, with the eyes, the AI struggled. In fact, I would only say about 20% of the time did I actually get the image I was looking for, which is why I ended up creating probably close to 1,000 images. Now, another feature that was helpful was what's called the blend board. So these images at the top are when I would create separate characters and put them into a background. That feature alone made this website worth it because I could then blend different characters into a background and change subtle things about the character and then only change that character in that scene. That's what I use for most of my images. Now, I have my images, but how did I match my text with my images? One thing you'll learn using AI is that AI is terrible when it comes to text. So I went to my old friend Canva. Now, Canva has a free month trial for its pro version. That's what I used, so I didn't have to pay. Now, with the pro version, I was able to create a 10 by 8 frame, which is a standard size for children's books. And I was able to match my text with my images. Also, I was able to make subtle changes. For example, this eye was not looking the right way. So I just marked over it, created a black circle, and made the moose look up. So I finished my children's book using Canva. Having finished my children's book, I thought, well, why not try to publish it? And then I realized, what if it's not legal? So I went to OpenArt AI's terms of service, and turns out they claim no ownership of the images you create. So I thought, perfect. But then I remembered, oh, I also used Recraft. And when I said it was a mistake to use Recraft's free plan, well, here's why. So their terms of service state that you own the images created under their paid version, but as of 2024, you do not own the images created under their free version. Now, this made me wonder because, well, AI can't really be copyrighted. So how are they claiming ownership? And that's something you need to know because if you create anything using AI, it's not really able to be copyrighted. So while I can copyright my book, I can't copyright the individual images. And this made me wonder, well, how does Recraft claim ownership? This sent me on a wild goose chase trying to figure out what exactly I could and couldn't do. How do they claim ownership? And I realized, this is not an issue of copyright. They're not claiming a copyright. This is an issue of breach of contract because when you sign up for their website to use their AI and you scroll through that long list of their terms of service and you just click OK, so I can use your website. Well, what they say in that is that, oh, you're giving us ownership. We now own the images and you can't use them for commercial purposes. Now, I'm like, okay, I've used Recraft as a base for almost my entire project. I mean, most of my characters were created originally in Recraft. So there's got to be a way. Maybe I can buy these images, maybe I can get express permission. So I actually emailed Recraft, and this is what I got. Now, I'll admit, when I first sent this email to Recraft, it sort of felt like I was shooting a half-court shot. Like, I'm just hoping they respond. So when I got an immediate response from Ekaterina Voloboy, I'm like, wow, what great customer service. But Ekaterina Voloboy is the chief of staff of Recraft, and I don't really know what chief of staff do, but I can tell you one thing they don't do. They don't sit around waiting to respond to help chat emails. I continue reading the email, and there it is at the bottom, Recraft virtual support. Yeah, this is an AI response. I mean, what do you expect? I'm emailing an AI website, and basically all AI did was repeat the terms of service. Without a paid subscription, Recraft owns them, cannot be used for commercial purposes. But I took it a step farther. I said, okay, can I have permission to use these 5 images? And that's when I got Olga on the line. Now, Olga's a real person, at least I hope, and a real person makes a difference. She explained that while they do own the free tier assets, here we go, license of use, they grant users a limited, non-exclusive, non-transferable, like what in the world is this? Non-sub licensable license to use the free tier assets, including in commercial projects. So now I'm like, yes, I can use these, but I wanted specific clarification. I wanted a straight answer. So I emailed them back saying, just to clarify, would my children's book be considered a commercial project? And at first, Olga just started to sound like an AI, repeated their terms of service. So I actually quoted her exact email, her exact words, and then she responded, "You can use the images in your children's book." The clouds parted, the sun came out, and I was finally able to publish my children's book. Now, some things I've learned from this. One, if anyone ever tells you, oh, just use an AI to generate images for your children's book, super easy, don't believe them, not true. But I've also learned that if anyone tells you, oh, you can't illustrate a children's book for 30 bucks, well, they're not right either. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. See you next time.